Hello, everybody. This is Jennifer again coming to you with an interesting individual who is also our amazing Romania country chair from G100 Oneness and Wisdom. I find it so pleasurable to be able to communicate with such awesome ladies that we have in our G100 Oneness and Wisdom group because one learns so much from each other. And I think the whole concept over here is about how can we actually come together to create something greater. And when I say that, it's about each one of us is so uniquely different. And that is the whole essence and the ethos of when we are so uniquely different, when we come together, how can we complete one another? So, having said that, without further ado, I'd like to invite Miss Roxana to actually join me to take this conversation into a way where we get to know her, we get to know what actually excites her, what brings her joy, and how she transforms all of that into the work that she does in the corporate world, as well as in the world that she is creating independently. And that's why she's part of G100. So, welcome to the call. Oksana, how are you doing today?
Hi, Jennifer. Well, I'm feeling great. Actually, I had an amazing day doing what I love. So you see, that's something that really uplifts me.
Good.
And I'm very grateful for this invite and for having this discussion with you. It's always a pleasure to chat together. So thank you so much.
Now, it's a pleasure for everyone actually to get to know you as well. So thank you for taking the time. I know you've drove in the traffic and it has been
Yes.
pretty horrendous, but I know that you have different ways of calming you down. So we'll talk about that later. But for everyone who's joining us and who's going to be listening to this, I'd like to introduce Roxana in a little bit more professional way. She is a corporate enthusiast, as she calls herself, with more than 20 years of experience in different domains as hospitality, banking, telecommunications, human resources, and client services. Wow, that is a nice array of experience and industries, right? She's also a professional coach, a certified coach, an MBA, and an activist in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion, a leadership person, a person who takes care of people, who's into human resources, and is an investor, and her currency for that investment is always people. I think let's start off over there. I'm going to add up all your amazing experience in the show notes, but I'd like to know from you what made you actually start the career that you've chosen to be in? What enthused you to actually pursue that?
That's a good question. But I would say that my career wasn't something that I was aware of in the beginning, of my professional journey. And if I would be very, poetic, I would say that it was a journey from head to heart,
Okay,
or a journey from unconscious to conscious,
okay.
or a journey from a survival mode and fighting life and having to achieve things in life, to just dropping into my heart and creating life from there.
Mm,
So just listening more to my soul and who I am and what I bring to the world, and then putting that into something that becomes a profession or a gift, or a way of offering to the others, while also earning my living, let's say.
that's
And
an amazing way of looking at it. Uh,
yeah,
many
I
people
can look at it
struggle.
like that now.
Many people have struggled to try and find that sweet spot that makes them really love what they do and actually enjoy what they do. So, yes, please carry on.
Yeah, so now being more pragmatic about it, because that was a poetic description of the journey. I started like any young person, just check being like checklisting the things that the society tells us to check, like having maybe graduating a high school, then in university, then choosing a direction for my work, like guided by my parents, and and needing to get married and have children and earn a certain amount of money and have a certain title on my business card. And yes, all of that was fun. And I learned a lot from this side of my life when I was more unaware about where I'm heading and what I would really love to do. But there were moments when I could taste along this journey that I have my own path. I was just feeling it, my soul was guiding me. And usually this let's say tastes I had were usually being mirrored by people, or I were receiving messages from people that were telling me, I love about you that you are doing that, or when you are doing that, I love that. So for example, I remember when I was in the beginning of my leadership, and I was leading a small team, that they were telling me that they always love the way I motivate and uplift them, and the way that I train them, but not necessarily training on products or processes, but the actual training in relation to how to connect better with others, how to speak better, how to communicate more effectively. So that's those soft skills sides, So slowly receiving that messages from people and that feedback, I would say, I started to look at myself and understand more, why am I doing that? What does that bring to me? How am I feeling when I'm doing that, So in the beginning, I was just, let's say, hunting titles and money, like any young person who wants to achieve stuff, right? And wants to succeed, because I wanted to become independent from my parents. I was also a very hungry for learning, for growing. And this hunger I always had for learning and growing made me always study and always do something about, feeding my mind and later my heart with topics, competencies, knowledge that I felt brought me to a higher level of my being. I mean, I feel like our life is like a spiral. So we are going up, but in a spiral. And sometimes we fall, but we don't fall as down as we used to fall before. So it's like a spiral, So the moment when I introduced in my life this observer role, this capacity to self-reflect, then it started to become more and more a conscious journey and a more strategic, let's say, approach towards building a career that slowly brought me where I'm now, But I would say it was unconscious first, then it became something like a blend, and now it's a more conscious creator. I became a more conscious creator of my life and my career. And the journey continues,
Right.
A lot of the things I love to do started when I was a kid, actually. And that's interesting, because we wouldn't think that back then, when we were, I don't know, 7 or 8 or 10, there are hints we receive around why we are here and what we are meant to do, and how to transform that in a profession, And luckily, I had a great model in my parents, and both of them, but especially my dad, because he's so passionate of his work. And he gave me an advice when I was a kid. He said something like, never run away from work, no matter what type of work that is, because in whatever work you are going to do, you are going to find bits of yourself, and you are going to understand more about who you are and what you would love to do and what do you bring to the world. And it's a matter of respect for yourself. And, I just began my journey like any other young person, like, I don't know, being in a restaurant, like a waiter or a hostess. So nothing that was like a spectacular job, so something that would say, but I always found in whatever I was doing something that I loved, and that helped me thrive in that role, that helped me contribute in that role, that helped me adapt and grow. And of course, in the end, it guided me on the next job and the next job and the next job, and opportunities were coming for me, they were opening to me.
What
and I was
makes,
just grabbing.
but this is very, very interesting what your father said, because it makes a lot of profound sense. As
Yeah.
in everything that you do, try to find you in it. I mean, for example, it's so amazing because most of the time, any work that we try to do, we try so hard to try and do a job just because it's a job and get over with it.
Hmm.
Now,
Hmm.
if you're approaching anything that way, what usually happens is that, and that's been my personal journey of actually seeing and interviewing people for a really long time, is that either you're being forced to do it, okay? If you're approaching any work that you do as a you're forced to do it and you're going against your will, then you have to be able to look at it and how it is that you can approach it, quite honestly. I think our approach to anything that we do needs to actually shift and change how we look at it. But having said whatever it is that your father told you, is like it requires us to really first know ourselves. And even if you thought, like as a kid, very true, we already have our blueprint, so to speak. Okay. And that blueprint would actually emerge in different things. So as a kid, you must have been very a happy child, a person who wanted to actually help people, be kind to people. So that's why when you're approaching your your team members today, they actually find your style very approachable. You notice it's all connected. We're trying to actually see how what it is that you are doing actually has a part, and you carry it carries an essence of you. And that's why I keep saying to people that jobs are jobs, okay? But the thing that makes the difference to any job is you in it,
Exactly.
because that's what carries the essence. So
Exactly.
it's a beautiful thing. Thank you for sharing that. I would have loved to have met your father if I could have right now.
He's a
But
great man.
yeah,
A lot
we
of wisdom and very
exactly.
inspiring on in the job. I mean, he really loves what he's doing.
What does he do, your dad?
He's a dentist, so
Making people smile and look beautiful. What else is
yes,
there,
you
man?
see.
Awesome, awesome. So now, uh, tell me about what you do right now in the role. You're working within an organization, Roxana, and you are what? What is it that you do?
Yeah, so I'm working in a multinational company, an American one, and I'm the talent coach of this company. I'm part of the HR team. And as part of my role, I'm coaching, mentoring, training, and facilitating conversations for people's growth. Of course, with a focus on leadership skills, on key soft skills competencies that they need in their jobs. And I would say even more than that, because I consider myself like the builder of bridges.
Mm,
Because in whatever I'm doing at work, I always bring that me, that essence that I am, and I build bridges between the people's head and their heart,
mm,
because we are so stuck in our head in the corporate world and we forget about our heart. So that's one thing I'm doing. Then I'm building bridges among people or between them, because I always bring that element. I create a safe space where people can open up to one another, and this connects them at a different level than just mental or just, we are supposed to be good colleagues and that's it,
mm, mm, mm.
to to realize that when you're coming to work, no matter what title you have on that business card, you are coming with your whole package.
Exactly.
So whoever is lying to themselves that once you enter the door of the job of the company and you leave aside whatever or whoever personal or I don't know luggage you have, and you are just putting the mask of the role and just being there,
Mm.
as a title. Well, that doesn't work like that. And if I connect that also to the neuroscience part, if we think that we are only, I think the neuroscientist says like 5% conscious and the rest is unconscious, you can imagine that you cannot actually control that luggage that you think you left outside. And usually it doesn't manifest when you're in a good state at work, because now you're, let's say, when you're calm, it's fine. But that luggage manifests when you're stressed, when
Mm,
you are under pressure, when there is maybe a conflict. So the more you are conscious about what do you carry in your luggage, how can you take care of the things you put in that luggage in a way that maybe the old should be given away, or maybe something out there is a potential resource you never touched or never used because you were too afraid to look in your luggage, you know. So let's realize that the luggage we bring with us, it's equally a place of power and a place of growth and resource, but also a place that can put us down if we don't look at it. That's something very powerful to understand at work. Plus, think about how many hours of your day you spend in a work, in a job, and make a computation how much of your life and your energy or life energy goes into that place. And maybe when you become aware of this mathematics of, let's say, work, you will not say, it's just a job, you know, I'm just going there to take my money. And yeah, well, that will cost you in time. And I usually tell also to my colleagues that the cost is very big, because you might have crisis in life when you don't know who you are anymore, when you don't know where you are heading anymore. You have all sorts of burnouts or breakouts, you know. So you owe it to yourself to start looking inwards, to start looking in the mirrors that the other ones bring to you, and become a conscious creator of your journey. Take responsibility for whatever happens to you. Don't victimize yourself. Don't fight others, or don't try to save others.
Oh yes, that's a very interesting way of putting it. My question over here is like, how many people in the corporate world, I know you're doing it, but percentage-wise, how many people in the corporate world are willing to look at themselves as individuals to really empower themselves, engage with themselves first before they try and fix everyone else? Because the whole concept of the corporate world has been, most importantly, is how to let everyone else do what is necessary, and I will tell you, and that's why I'm the boss. But how many? I mean, do you see it in the corporate world where a manager would actually be able to listen to the subordinate and actually learn something from them? Because that, I know, is almost like impossible, because everyone is trying to maintain a facade of and hide behind the designation that they have, right, of power. So I mean, I have been in the corporate world myself, and I have learned so many things from people who were working with me. I mean, like an office boy. We were doing. I'll give you an example. We were actually doing a charity event, and our company was the sponsor for that event, and all of us sat in the office, all the consultants, and we said, okay, fine, what is it that we require? We're going to be having an exhibition stand, and what kind of material is required, and what do we need to do? So I opened the floor to everyone, and everyone talked about, we need to have leaflets, we need to have this, we need to have that, and what have you. And the event was not a charity event, it was for a special needs school, a college that we were actually sponsoring the thing, right? So we got the banners, we got the stickers, we got the flyers, we got, the stand, the design, everything was done. And we were waiting for the office guy, the office boy to come and serve us our tea and coffee, because we were going to have a break. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry, we didn't include you in this. And he said, okay, ma'am, what are we talking about? Because he wasn't there. I said, we're having this, we're actually going to be sponsoring this special needs event. And we wanted to know, what are your ideas? Do you have any ideas as to how we can make it more effective? And he asked me a very simple question in front of everybody. Ma'am, do we have children there? I said, yes, of course, because they're special needs kids. So he said, have you got any games for them? Have you got anything to give to them? And all of us just stopped in our tracks and said,
Oh,
my God, we're trying to promote our company, but we forgot that we actually have children who are specially able children. It's their school. So what can we do that will create fun for them? And then we all went out and I said, thank you so much, Bhumi. His name was Bhumi, for bringing that to our attention. We had totally forgot. So the whole team went and we bought kites,
mhm.
we made puzzles. Some of the consultants' wives drew up some amazing, dart games, etc. And we had bubbles and machines like that. But it was such an awakening because none of us actually were willing to even look there. But that's how important it is to have everyone come in and actually participate. So, having said that, it's you may have some of those kind of things going for you too. Is there anything that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so we are so if we are in an automatic behavior, we are acting from our bubble and everything revolves around ourselves. Or if I, connect what I want to say to your story, everything connects around what the company wants to, share out there, how the company wants to be seen out there. And that makes us very, it's nothing bad in that, but it makes us, like it's all about us. It's only about us and ourselves and
I,
our
me,
own,
and myself. Yes.
me,
Right.
myself, and I. Now, when you have a mirror like your colleague, like Bobby, or how it was called, and he said, yeah, but you could turn the mirror and look at the others too, because there is something there, that you should not forget about. That's something very powerful. That's why I'm saying that I'm building bridges, because in that moment we understand that we are more, and we are not only me, myself, and I. We are somehow connected, all of us. If you carefully take a look around in your life, you will see the truth in what I'm saying. And I'm sure I know we are aligned on this. I just like highlighting it or putting an emphasis on this in this conversation, because once you understand that somehow we are one, and it's not only about my own journey, but also how I'm being impacted by others, and how I'm impacting others, then life becomes juicer, more interesting, and less dramatic.
Mm. And less
I would say
problematic.
it's less problematic. That's why I use the word dramatic. So if I turn back to the question that you asked at the beginning, I mean, before telling your story, how much of the corporate, I couldn't give you a percentage. I think it depends. What I see in general is that there is I don't know, like it started to be like a current, or I don't know how to call it in English. There are some conversations starting around a next level in the corporate, in how we approach people or how we approach work. And if I talk only about my company, I cannot give the name, but if I talk about the company where I'm working with, for example, we encourage a lot uniqueness. We encourage a lot people to find their strengths, and to contribute from with their strengths in their job to get performance and find their way in the company, ideally, right? Sometimes they find their way outside, and that's fine too.
Mhm.
So there is something that, like a conversation that started around that. I would say that the awareness level started to increase.
Mm.
And yes, it's uncomfortable for people to look at themselves, because you are too much preoccupied by what other things, or how do I should show up in the world, or how I should, I don't know, whatever, about outside. We are too preoccupied about the outside and too afraid to look inwards.
Is
But
it
we,
sorry, carry on. Carry on.
once we embrace that fear, you will find like a treasure, and you are the treasure.
That's interesting. The thing is, to be able to change that, which is what it is that I'm always interested in doing, to be able to change the narrative of always looking on the outside to be appreciated to be recognized, to be validated. I think everyone has to, to stop. Like I keep putting an SLA on me. The service level agreement for me is to stop, listen, ask questions, become aware, and then act. Okay, because otherwise you're going to be lost in the mayhem. It's the continuity of let's rush, let's do this, let's do that, and let's fix it. Source is broken, that one is not working. So it's an interesting thing that you do is to actually invite people to actually look at themselves.
Yes, I do.
Because and I do that as well as work that I do with my clients, and it is more about helping people to uncover, to discover their unique abilities, capacities, and skills. Because when you unveil that with them, then it is all about, oh, wow, I can actually do this. And when they start seeing that synergy of who they are to what they do, then it becomes a value addition to the role that they play, quite honestly.
Exactly.
I
Yes.
think that that is the most important thing. Now, I'd love to ask you because I know you don't just do what you're saying you're doing right now. You're also really involved with doing some special things that you do in your private life. If you don't mind us asking you, what made you shift and change to go on that, to try and look into the realms of different possibilities like you have? Because it's quite an interesting story, and I'd love for people to hear it because it's for me it was like, oh my God, this is a girl after my heart. When I spoke to you, remember when we spoke the first time, it was like,
Oh,
oh
yes.
my goodness, she's speaking the same language. Let's connect and let's get this stuff started. So tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, well, to be honest, initially, everything started with my need for validation and to feel like I matter and to feel like I'm seen and to feel like I'm enough. And this combined with my curiosity and desire to grow and learn. In the beginning of my journey, everything I was doing was to prove myself to others, to prove myself to my parents, to be accepted, as I said, and whatever I mentioned earlier, and to fill my inner void with diplomas, competencies, knowledge, and whatever I found there, But this journey has two sides of the coin, So maybe it started like that, like with the shadow side, But it became the light side because by allowing myself to compel, it was like I was like very hungry for learning and doing all that stuff to fill the void, to run away from myself. In the end, I landed up in my inwards, so in myself, in my core, in my soul. And I realized that although I was making a lot of choices unconsciously, in the end, they brought me in the right place.
Yeah, they brought you to where you are. Exactly.
Where I am, yes. And then it became just about enjoying life, just about tasting the beauty of life, just about, embodying all that knowledge, all that wisdom, realizing that there will always be people who will reject you. There will always be people who will not appreciate who you are and what you bring to the table. There will always be people judging you, and it's fine because they have their own journey. There's nothing bad about them. But you don't have to be a puppet in their hands. Just recognize that you are in different timelines of the journey, let's say, and just embrace that, and go in your center. For me, it was very hard. I had anxiety for years. Anxiety was a constant of my life. Anxiety because I needed to perform. Anxiety because I needed to be perfect in everything. Anxiety because I needed to prove myself. Anxiety because I needed to don't lose my job, not be thrown away, considered like a good employee, and all those pressures. But guess what? They're all coming from here and from the social programming. But once you see that programming and you say, it's just a programming, I can skip that, and I can do something about it. Then you press the button, and you work with your mind, and then with your heart and emotions, and you can land in your center. And out of that centered place, you finally get to do things that you love. And you said, I'm doing a lot. So I love traveling, for example. And I love traveling just to meet people, to get to taste new cultures, to see other bubbles of this world, because we are so stuck in our own bubble that we don't observe other bubbles. And we think the reality is only what we see in our bubble. But the reality is so much bigger than that, you know. I love writing. I love writing poetry and also like stories, you know. And when I have time, I do that too. I enjoy writing. It's a way of, you know, pouring my soul into letters. And why not? I'm showing that to some of my friends and they get the taste of my soul, you know, through my writing. I love singing. And guess what? Ironically or not, when I was little and you were asking me what I would love to do in my life, I was answering two things. I want to be a singer and I want to be a teacher, like my mom. She's a French teacher. She used to be a French teacher. So we know since we are children what we want to do and why we are here. Because if I look now at the dimension of my life and where I am now with doing that, guess what? I'm still singing and I offer this gift of mine to people because I'm going to small events where I fulfill my passion. It started like just investing in canto lessons. During my high school, I actually had a band, so I fulfilled somehow my dream, but then it stopped because I felt that this domain was not necessarily fitting with my values and stuff like that. I mean, the practicality, the logistical of the music industry and all this entertainment industry, I didn't feel like I was managing to adapt to some things that were required there. But the calling was still there.
Exactly.
So I fulfilled my calling by going to canto lessons and now giving back from that talent, let's say, to the world. And I'm still working on that because you cannot imagine how much of the programming it's affecting how I sing. The quality of how I'm putting my emotions into that singing. And the more I evolve, the better I become in my singing, because it's not all about the technique. It's also a lot about your psychology and your emotional, how you live your emotions while you sing, you know. And it's also very comforting. And singing is something that really heals my soul and brings me in the center and brings me in balance. And I know I'm on a spiral. I'm just continue to grow and learn every time. I learn a lot about myself while singing, while studying singing music, you know, and doing things with my voice. We have like an amazing instrument inside of us. It's just an amazing instrument. You couldn't believe how amazing it is. But we are so blocking it because we have so many critics inside of our head who, you know, stop us from actually expressing with our voice, you know.
Which is true. And very, very true. But you know what? I think we all have to, at some time or the other, forget about what other people say and truly step into what it is that we are here to experience, to express. And no matter what happens, we have to actually be able to fulfill that, because that is part of our destiny. It's really necessary. Okay. But from your conversation, I've just picked up some amazing things. First is, how much do we try and hide behind the facades of our business card? Number one.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
How many times do we spend so much time with what other people think about us and forget to recognize who we are individually? How many times do we totally eradicate the fact that we are not separate from who we are at home or in our social life to who we are in our job or in the office? We are a continuation. So, as you said very rightly, let us be aware of that, because if we are not going to bring all of us to work, then it's going to hit us somewhere later on if we don't really get to know ourselves. And I think
Yes.
one of the most important things that, and I want your opinion on that, Roxana, is that so we talk about within the corporate world, let's look at the corporate world. We talk about profits, we talk about a whole lot of procedure. And lastly, we talk about people. I think that is shifting and changing now.
Yeah.
But besides the fact that we're talking about people, so how do people relate to one another? How do people relate to the business? How do people relate to the clients? But my question to you is, would it make more sense if an individual would learn how to relate to themselves first?
I would say it's a very precious key in doing that.
Because, and it's been my experience, is that unless you do not know you,
yeah,
there will be an element of many elements missing when you're trying to relate to somebody else. And I
Plus,
think
you relate to from an authentic place because you don't know who you are. And this makes you very prone to, I don't know, I would say sometimes you can be manipulated because you don't have limits. Sometimes you can become the manipulator because if you don't know who you are and you are always wanting to prove yourself through others, you tend to go in roles that are not in reality fulfilling you. They drain you. I learned along my journey to ask myself some questions that really helped me. One of the questions is, what am I feeling right now? So whenever something happens, becoming aware of what's happening inside of me with my feelings and what happens in my body. Because our body is so smart. Our body always tells the truth. Our body doesn't lie. It's not like the mind chatter. We are living too much our lives from our head. And it's not like anything is bad with our minds. They're beautiful. We love them. Yes, our head is so beautiful and wonderful. And we love the head. But we are more than just our head. We have our body. We have our energy. We have our emotions. We have so many parts of our being. We are such a complex being. And the head is just a part of us. It's not everything. But we used to live the lives from our head. And I lived a lot my life from my head.
Oh, me too. Everyone does, because that is what was considered the right approach.
Exactly. Yes.
And
the mind puts us always in action, in doing, in worrying, in, I don't know, looking for dangers that we need to overcome, in surviving, because that's the main role of the mind, actually, to help us survive. And that's why we have awkward reactions in situation when in reality, the situation is not that bad. But you have a awkward reaction, disproportionate, I mean, like a really unbalanced reaction, because your mind gives a signal that there is a big danger for you out there.
Fear.
Yeah, that's
it's
a lot
constant
of
fear. And there's a lot of judgment. And there's a lot of ridicule. And there's a lot of comparison. And there's a lot of competition.
But that's the social programming. That's what I'm saying. When you understand that's just the programming, and you can switch that button and create a new program for yourself, then you have the power and you become a conscious creator of your life. And I know it sounds, maybe I'm using sophisticated words and very precious, but I'm really living that. I'm a living proof of that. You know, just briefly to explain to you how I was in my beginning of my work. So next to that beautiful image that I gave you around what my father told me to do and how my father advised me to be, I was so victim in my previous works. There was someone there always that had something with me, and they were having something against me. And I was a crybaby and a drama queen. And it was a disaster all the time. I was a victim of my boss, of my colleagues, of whatever. It was an awful place to be. It drained me. When I realized that I was doing all that because I wanted attention, that I was so hurt inside of me that I wanted to be seen and to have people behave with me in a way that I was not able to behave with myself, because, you know, the first critic, like you said, it's your inner critic, which is the worst compared to what the others from the outside are just, you know, mirroring back to you, because that's the reality. They are mirroring back to us, you know. And I live my life, a lot of part of my life, in this victim mode, in this drama queen mode. I also had moments when I switched into the rebel, into the fighter. I was fighting everyone. Oh, people are stupid. People are, I know, using bad words and judging others. And sometimes those automatic behaviors still happen now. Just now when they appear, I stop and said, okay, what do you actually want to convey to me? Because it's not about the other one. The other one is just pressing a button inside of me.
Exactly.
So what is the other one teaching me about myself? Because my reaction to someone, it's always something that teaches me something about myself.
Exactly.
I can react to someone, and this is from survival and all these unconscious and ineffective behaviors and reactions, or I can respond to someone. And when I'm responding, this comes from a place of inner strength. This comes from a place of self-confidence and knowing who you are, and a lot of caring and loving, because you are not there to fight anyone or to judge anyone or to protect yourself in front of anyone. You know, and that's a journey, by the way. That's a journey, and I'm just in my spiral in a better place than I was 10 years back, you know.
Yeah, because we always are evolving and emerging.
Trust me, I did things. I invested in myself. I went to therapy. I used also more esoteric practices, like, I don't know, going to shamans or going to systemic constellations, or, you know, working with energy, all these things that can sound boo-hoo-hoo. I choose to do because I realized that as long as I stay in my head, I only create what my head knows. And he's very stuck in his knowing. And no matter how information I'm feeding him, I'm still spiraling that information and creates what my ego wants that fits best with what reality I want to create to feel better, you know, but better from a place of superiority, not from a place of love and centered in my heart. And that was a tough journey, by the way.
Yeah, because many people won't choose that, quite honestly, Roxana, because and it's totally their choice. So we don't have any opinion or judgment about them. But if everyone really wants to be present in their own life and living, then it's about discovering yourself. Because if you don't discover you, how are you uncovering anything about you that is going to make you feel good about you? It's just like me. I had reached the plateau, and I just didn't know where the hell to go, quite honestly. I had people come and assess me as a CEO, and they said I was brilliant. And I'm saying, okay, fine, if I'm so brilliant, why the hell is it that I'm not feeling happy, right? And then I went on a journey myself. I mean, I've been on the journey constantly, because it's more time that you give to yourself. Then you can help somebody else. It's not about I have all the answers. No, I don't. No one does. And that is why this competition, we need to eradicate competition, because each one of us comes in with a unique essence, a unique brilliance. The way I look at it is, when we can come together, it's not to compete, but to complete one another, by putting, because each one of us carries a piece of that puzzle that creates that amazing tapestry. And I think that is what it is that we're here to bring together. So this amazing association that we have for G100, oneness and wisdom, I think this is the platform where we are sharing with the rest of the world what oneness is and what is the wisdom all of us bring to the table to help other people recognize how wise they are and what they can do for themselves, and then be a contribution to somebody else. So I'd like to ask you, before we sign off, Do you have any advice? 3 important things that you feel that you'd like to share with everyone who's going to be hearing later as to how to be the best that you can be without judging you.
Okay. I don't know if I will share from my experience what helped me, because I would not want to give advice to people. In the end, each one chooses whatever fits with them and how they see the world and who they are in that moment. For me, it was really, really important to start with some help outside of myself. I mean, this is what it works. So for me, going to therapy and going into this area where professionals were being there as mirrors for my self-knowledge, as reflectors of my behaviors. I mean, being there to, help me look at myself from different angles. It was very valuable. So working with a therapist, working with a coach, having a mentor, this is very practical, and these were things that helped me. And because I'm speaking from the corporate world, that helped me in the corporate world, okay, also, and in the personal life too, The second one is strongly rewind try to rewind the time, I mean, your video of life, let's say, and go back to your childhood and get in touch with that child that it's still somewhere there inside of you. And remember that child's dreams, that child's wishes. What was making that child happy when he was small? Maybe he was dreaming to become, I don't know, a NASA specialist or going to the moon or flying or whatever. Reconnect with that dream and bring that hobby, bring that potentiality in your life again. Bring it back.
Connect, yeah.
Because this will activate in you emotional healing, will activate the creative side of you, and will complete, no matter job you have, will complete in a positive way, will be a resource for that balance, because we forget to bring balance in our lives. We are too much workaholics, working, and running from morning till night. How can you bring more balance? And yes, you can do yoga and you can meditate and you can travel. Okay, that's all nice, but feed your inner child. Reconnect with that inner child. And then the third one that I would say, it really helped me make a big switch in my head when I learned something, and I will share the way I learned it, I will share it. Everything in this world is love. And we have unconscious love and conscious love. Fear, it's a manifestation of unconscious love. Our critics, our perfectionists, our inner critics, inner perfectionists, inner battles, all those masks we put are just protectors because they love us. So this is unconscious love. And then we have the conscious love that comes with courage, that comes with joy, with bliss, with having that compassion for others, being grateful for whatever life brings to you. And we can cultivate this every day. We can have small practices, not hours. It's enough in the morning if you just spend 5 minutes in being grateful that you woke up, that you have that beautiful, tasty, savoring your coffee. Just feeling the water on your hands, becoming more present in your awakening in the morning, waking up. Because otherwise we stay in those automatic behaviors, robots, and those will drain us. So this is something that helped me. When I shifted the button in my hand, when my critic shows up, I said, hey, lovely, I see you. I hear you. I love you. What do you want to tell me, actually? What do I need to heal here? What do I need to alchemize inside myself? Because my critic, it's just loving me, but it's just talking to me in a way that is not uplifting me, unfortunately. So, but it's love. It's still love, That's the idea. Because, remember when our parents were like, oh, don't do that. Why are you doing that? And criticizing. They were doing that out of their unconscious love. It's not that they didn't love us, just the way they were expressing it was unconscious in a way that was like, how would you replace critic with what I would love you to do? Because critic is something that shows you how you would love to flip things around and actually become something you want, not something you don't want. You know, critics always pinpoints to what you don't want, but when you flip side that and you go to what you want, then you uplift yourself. And then you can make a conscious choice, not out of frustration or anger or anxiety, but out of your center, out of your courage, out of your trust, you know.
So in short, it's more about trusting yourself, recognizing what's the inner critic, recognizing how it is that you can listen. Again, we don't listen enough. We don't stop, we don't listen, we don't ask questions, and we don't choose to become aware. So I guess.
Yeah, because we're too much in our head. Our
That's
head
right.
keeps us stuck in this, you know.
But the
But
thing
when
is
you
that the head
stop,
also is there to protect us so that we
yeah,
to maintain our equilibrium. Because if we had too much of change, we probably might go, oh my God, what's going on?
oh,
And it affects the body. This is such a large topic. I would think
yeah,
we too
we can
are
speak
going
for
to
hours.
exactly. I think I have to bring you on something that we do, which is called the Rejuvenation Fest,
Mm,
and where I'd
would love
like to actually have you there and join us with your expertise. But in the meantime, thank you very much for taking the time. Ladies
Thank you.
and gentlemen, we were having a conversation which can carry on for hours because it's such a vast one with Roxana, who is our amazing Romania country chair for G100 Oneness and Wisdom. Her story, her wisdom, the work that she does and shares with the rest of the world and within her organization is truly groundbreaking. And I'm so honored and privileged to actually have her as our country chair. So thank you very much, Roxana.
Thank you.
I
I'm very
hope
grateful.
I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, because and I'm quite sure other people are going to have fun listening to it. So thank you very much and have a wonderful evening going forward. God bless.